Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be showing you how to make foil stickers without a laser printer and without heat. And to make those, we're going to be using Deco Foil foam sheets and Deco Foil transfer sheets. I love this method for making foil stickers because it's beginner friendly and it's reasonably accessible. Even if you don't have an electric cutter or a die cutter, you can use this and make shapes by cutting by hand or using hand punches. Now, the way that I regularly would make stickers, and I believe that this is the most common way, is by printing on my sticker paper using a laser printer and then placing that foil sheet onto that printed design and running it through a laminator and allowing the heat to do the transfer process for me. But of course, I know that not everyone has access to a laser printer and not everyone has a laminator as well, especially if you are a beginner. Now, if you want your stickers to be flat, this is the method that you're going to have to use. But if you're okay with having a thicker sticker, then this method that I'm getting ready to show you again is a great way to start experimenting with making foil stickers. Now, personally for me, I feel like there's only two downsides to using this method. The first downside is that it is a thicker sticker because it's foam. And so depending on how you intend to use it, for example, in the past, I've used it in my planner depending on the way your planner is, because my old planners were disc bound, that gave me a little bit of room to use thicker stickers. But now that I'm using a journal with traditional binding, then I'll be limited in the types of stickers that I'm going to be able to use. So again, it's foam is thicker than your traditional sticker. So you have to be mindful of that when you're using this method. Let me show you how I use them in my old planner. Now, obviously, because this planner is disc bound, I did not have to worry about the thickness of the sticker because the binding itself allowed me room to grow. This is what it looks like. You see the light reflects off of it because I use that foil, and as I mentioned already, it is a little bit thicker than a standard sticker, but it just really depends on how you're using it. Like if you're using it for children's arts and craft projects, then that's probably not going to be a big deal. But if you're using it in a journal, like the journal that has the traditional binding, like the one that I'm using right now, then you definitely want to be mindful of using these stickers and where you place them at and how many you ultimately end up using. But that's not to say that I won't use it in the future. There's a strong chance that I probably will because I have a little bit of room to add some thickness there. But the other downside to the foam stickers is once you stick that adhesive side down onto the paper, it's very hard to remove. It's not like a regular sticker. So you really want to be confident in your placement before you press it down firmly because it's not likely that you're going to be able to reposition it. And what I typically would do is just place my sticker in the spot before removing that paper backing, that liner paper, and make sure that that's where I want it to be placed. And then again, before you press down firmly, you would make sure that that's where you want it placed and then press down firmly, and it's basically stuck to the paper at that point. So just be mindful of those things. Here's what I'm using in today's tutorial: the Deco Foil foam sheets, the Deco Foil transfer sheets, my Cricut Maker, the strong grip mat, but I'm only using my strong grip mat because it's not as sticky as it once was. I'm also going to be using masking tape and a deep cut blade. I have a pack of blades that are compatible with the Cricut machines, and I will be sure to link that in the description box. Again, if you don't have a machine, you can use punches or you can just cut the shapes by hand. So now we're going to do a test cut. Um, First thing you need to do, of course, is place your foam sheet onto your mat. And then I did use masking tape. Again, I'm using my strong grip mat, but this mat is pretty old. It still has a little stick to it, but it's nowhere near as sticky as a strong grip mat is supposed to be, which makes it perfect for this because I don't want it to take the backing off. And I'm just going to use masking tape to hold it down on the sides. Another thing that you want to do is make sure that you pressed all your star wheels to the side. I have two going to this direction and two pushed over here You don't want the star wheel to leave an impression on your material. And then I have already swapped out my blade from my regular blade to my deep point blade, and I'm just putting that into the clamp where it's supposed to go. And for my settings, I am using, the first thing I'm going to do is the EVA foam setting. I'm going to do maybe 2 or 3 passes for this. So the first pass that I always do is the EVA foam setting. So let's get that loaded. Now I'm not going to unload the mat. Well, actually, I am going to unload the mat, but I'm not going to move it. I'm going to go through and do that cut again, but this time I'm going to do it on the heavy cardstock setting. And when I select the heavy cardstock setting, I'm going to be sure to add more pressure. So let's pull that up first. Now, usually it cuts all the way through, but just to be on the safe side, I always do that one more time. But I've picked it up accidentally after the second pass through and it's cut all the way through. But if I can help it, I go through for a third time. And this third time is on the heavy cardstock with the more pressure setting. Well, got my answer to that. Because just as soon as I peeled it off the mat, it came right up. So there you go. Cut all the way through. And I would say you don't want to leave this on the mat, but you can if you would like. You could take the foil, remove this backing, this paper backing, and place the foil on here and rub it on there like that. But you do risk the foil also transferring onto your mat. So I just recommend that you go ahead and remove it. And if there are any sections you want to clean up, I recommend going on and doing that before you take your backing piece off. So I do have these little pieces right here. And I'm just going in with my X-Acto knife and cutting those off. And we're going to go ahead and peel off the paper lining from one side of the foam. This is always a little bit harder than you think it would be. Okay, so I have my little strip of foil and I'm going to go on and stick this on there. Like that. And we'll finish peeling off the paper backing on the W. And then apply that to the foil as well. And you want to flip your foil over and you're going to press gently across the top, just rubbing it across that over that foam so that that foil could transfer. Okay, so let's peel it off now. There's my J and there's my W. So if you're new to crafting or you don't own those tools that I mentioned earlier that you would need in order to do a standard print and cut sticker, which would give you like that flat sticker if that's what you're going for, then this would be a really good way for you to test out creating your own foil stickers. And you just want to remember that it is going to be thicker because it's foam. And you also want to be mindful of the fact that you cannot reposition it. Once it's placed on the paper, it's pretty hard to get it back up. And you also want to remember that you need to do a test cut on your machine. Yes, I showed you the settings that I usually use, but everybody's machine is different. I think we all know that. We've done projects before, we watched a tutorial and it just didn't come out the exact same way. So you should always do test cuts to see what's the best way for your machine to cut through the material completely. But that's it for this tutorial. And if it was helpful, let me know in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.